All right. Ladies and gentlemen, work experience students, we want to understand your paychecks and tax forms. All right, so here's the deal. So you work and you do that to make money. You want to buy stuff that you want. But there's also costs to working. Some are obvious and some are a little bit trickier to understand and hidden. So let's take a look at it. One of the hidden costs of a job is things that you have to pay for, some things that are mandatory that you don't have a choice, that are sometimes you don't even think about it. So one of them is transportation. So it's going to cost more to get to a job that's far away than one that's close. So clothing is a cost. You have to have a uniform. And that's going to be different. So if you work at McDonald's, that's going to be one cost. If you're a welder, that's going to be more expensive. You're going to have all your welding equipment. If you work at a law firm in San Francisco, just your tie alone could be like a $500 tie, and you could have a $2,000 suit. That's mandatory if you're going to be a lawyer at a law firm in San Francisco. Food, you have to have food. That's not necessarily um, well. So at certain jobs, that's going to cost more. So if you have to go out to lunch for lunch meetings and stuff, so the food's going to be more. Okay. So I want to teach you how to read your pay stub. That's a little part attached to your check when you get one. So there are wage deductions. It's money that's taken out of every worker's paycheck. You don't really get the choice for the most part. And here's a list of things that get taken out. So these are things that go to the government and the state, the federal and the state governments. So what you earn is not what you take home. So you work and maybe make 15 bucks an hour, but you don't take all that money home because you're paying money to all sorts of different places, mostly the government. Some things are benefits. Sometimes you get things that are a bonus to you. So your employer will choose to pay for their dental insurance, health insurance, disability insurance. If you get hurt, you have sick days. That's kind of a nice thing. You don't have to have that. Some of you guys get paid vacation, a retirement where your employer and you are both putting money into your retirement. Sometimes you'll get a discount, so you get a hamburger for cheaper, or you're going to get things at Ross for cheaper. And the question is for your notes. So write this down in your notes. So you should have a set of notes that says, what's the name of this whole thing? This was in red, so you should have written it down. Understanding your paycheck and tax forms. So answer the question: who pays for all these things? And the answer is it's mostly your employer. So your employer pays for these things for you. But the deal is oftentimes really, I mean, they're doing it to keep you as an employee. So it's part of your compensation. So your boss is paying for it, but really, if you didn't get these things, you'd actually probably get more money when you're working at a little bit of a higher end job, a better job. All right, where does your money go? So a ton of your money, not so much now, but as you get older, you spend more and more money. Almost 31% of your income and your paycheck is deducted, and that most of that's going to the government. So taxes are the largest expense most individuals have. So most of your money is going to taxes. Therefore, it's important for you to understand where that money is going. So in the U.S., we have a ongoing payment system. So it's not so you pay, every paycheck you pay your taxes a little bit each pay or a lot each paycheck. Um, so taxes are paid, and they're not always necessarily exactly the right amount. So sometimes they're taking some amount money out each month, and they're taking too much. Sometimes they're not. The government's not taking as much as they think. So at the end of the fiscal year, you have to square everything up. And what is that called? Write that down in your notes. What is it called when you square up with the government? Write that down. If you didn't get it, it's called your tax return. So when you're now that you're working, you're gonna have to do a tax return. Some of you guys will do it. Some of your parents will do it for you, but you have to do it. All right. So we said earlier it's important to know where your money is going. Well, where is it going? So for the federal government, this is the total spending. Most of it is going towards Social Security and unemployment labor. So it's going direct right back to other people. Sometimes you pay money and it comes back to you. Sometimes you pay money and it goes to other people. But a lot of it's for Social Security. So when you get older, that money will come back to you. So a lot of it goes to Medicare and health. So help paying for people's health care. A big chunk of it goes to military to keep us safe, and sometimes just to start silly wars that we don't need to. So here's a big chunk is paying interest on the debt, veterans benefits. So that would actually be kind of part of military, really. Food and agriculture. So sometimes we buy food for people. food stamps and things like that. Education, so the federal government doesn't really educate people too much. That's most of the state's jobs. Transportation, housing, and so on and so forth. So you can see where the money's going. Okay, let's go back. Let's look at where California is. Now, this was a proposed budget. So this was proposed. I'm not sure if this one actually went through, but this is probably pretty close. So you can see for the state, most of it goes to education and college. So K through 12, and then community colleges and Cal States and so on and so forth. So health and human services, so helping people with their medicine and families and stuff. Prisons, others, and we could look that up. Natural resources. So you can see where a bulk of your money goes. All right, and the question is, this should be read, what would you like to see changed with where your taxes go? Answer that question. Hit pause on this video. So there's a thing called a W-4, and it's a form you fill out that helps your boss figures out how much money they're going to take out and send to the government. And the interesting thing about this is it doesn't need to be correct. You can, because you have to square up at the end. So for example, if my wife and we ended up paying way too much taxes on our tax return at the end. So it's like, man, we need to pay more taxes each month so that at the end of the fiscal year, we don't owe a huge bill. So basically we lied on our W-4 and said we only had 2 kids when we have 3 kids. But it's not really a lie. It's just, you're just trying to get things how you want. So it's okay because at the end you have a tax return. Okay, so your W-4 looks like this. So are you single, married? Do you have, how many children do you have? So on and so forth. So it helps them determine how much taxes to take out. All right, so now this one is one that your boss gives to you, and this one has to be correct. So it tells basically how much money you earned and how much taxes you paid. And so the government uses this information to help figure out how much taxes you really owed. So like this person made this much, basically this much money, and they paid this much in taxes and so on and so forth. So then the government says, oh, you owe me more taxes, or, oh, well, you pay too much and we owe you. So this is called a W-2. All right, so now let's take a look at a paycheck and a pay stub and see what that looks like. So here's an example of a pay stub. If you guys get a physical check, this is attached to the check. If you're working and they just put deposit the money directly, you may not see one of these, but you're going to have to print these things up and take a look at them. So you can see how much money is going to taxes. All right, so write this down. A paycheck stub is a document included with each pay period, and it outlines your paycheck deductions, how much money the government's taking out. So as part of it, there's personal information. So your social security number, your name, your address. You should probably make sure this information is correct so that your tax money is not going to somebody else. All right, as part of it, there's the pay period, and it's right here. It's right there. It basically says, you can't see it because my thing is blocking it, but it basically says, hey, you're getting paid from this date to this date. Normally it could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, probably a month. So then you have the gross pay, which is the total amount of money you earn during a pay period. So if you work 10 hours and you made $15 an hour, you get $150. But this is not what you get to take home or spend. That's your gross pay. It's a large amount. Right? So here's your gross pay, here's your net pay. So you made this, but you actually only get to bring this home. Okay, so the net pay is the take-home pay, or what you actually get to spend. And so there is the net pay. And then the deductions are all the stuff that's taken out for different things. Most of it's going to taxes, but some of it's going to other things. Some of it's going to good things that you want to do. Okay, so here's all your deductions right there, all the money. So you made this much, but all this is getting taken out, so you only get to take that home. All right, so the federal withholding tax is the amount required by law for employers to withhold. So that's how much is going to the federal government. So this is typically the largest deduction. So it's right here. So this is how much is going to Mr. Donald Trump right now. Okay, going to the federal government. The state withholding is how much is going to the state. Okay, so this is the amount of money that you're paying in state taxes. Going to good old Gavin. All right, the FICA is your Social Security and Medicare. Sometimes it shows up as FICA. Sometimes it shows up as separate as Social Security and Medicare. We'll talk about those individual things. So on this particular one, it's showing up as FICA. Social Security is the nation's retirement program. So when you get old and retired, if you pay into the Social Security system, you'll get some money out, and you have to pay that percentage. And so on this one, the FICA was separated. So this one you see Social Security and Medicare. These are separate on this one. So sometimes these two things are combined into FICA. Sometimes you'll see them separate. Medicare is the nation's healthcare program. So when you get old, you get your medicine paid for by the government. You already paid into it, and then you get that benefit back. So again, on this one, the Medicare is separate. Sometimes the Social Security and Medicare are together as FICA. All right, and so in the state of California, there's a disability system. So if you get injured, or if you have a baby, or you can read through here, there's all kinds of reasons. But if you get injured and can't work, or there's some reason you can't work, and so this is a different looking pay stub. So I have a variety of pay stubs here, but there's the California DI, that's your disability. So if you can't work, you can get some of that money back. So you're paying into it now. So some of the benefits, so sometimes there's like a benefit, but you have to pay for part of it. So let's take a look at some of that. Let's see what I'm talking about. So for example, medical insurance. So a lot of you guys aren't going to get medical insurance. That's a bonus. You get your medical paid for. But sometimes your employer will pay for part and you pay for part. So if that's true, then your medical is going to show up. And so in this one, he's not paying any. But sometimes, for example, like I pay for about half of my medical, and the school pays for the other half. So part of it's a benefit, and then part of it would show up as a deduction. Same thing for a retirement plan. A 401k is awesome. If you can ever get a 401k, do it. And it's really great if like partially you put money in, and then sometimes your boss will match it up to a point. So this guy's a dummy. He's not putting any money into his own personal retirement. This isn't like Social Security where it's the government plan. It's kind of a rip because you put a lot in and don't get very much out. But if you put a bunch of money into the 401k and put it in good mutual funds or the stock market, it'll do really well. And it's nice because oftentimes you'll put in some, and then your boss will put in some, so your retirement will really grow. Year to date so this is just for the month, right? So this shows you the current month or current pay period. So the year to date is what you paid all the way up. So like right now, when I'm making this thing, it's in September. So this would be all the way up to September. So almost more than half the year. Okay, so hand in your notes. They're worth points. Okay, hand in your notes. So I want you to scan those in and turn them in through Canvas. And that's worth points. And then I want you to take the quiz. Let me show you how to take the quiz. So the quiz is over here. Let's see here. So you're going to go over here to, I can't find it. There it is. Okay, so you're going to get logged into Canvas, and you're going to go to, you can do it 2 ways. You can go to quizzes and find it, or you can go to right here, understanding your pay stub. And then here's the understanding your pay stub quiz. So you're going to click on that, and there should be, by the time I'm done with it, there's going to be a video. Watch the video, and then click on this, take the quiz, and answer those questions. Do the very best you can, because you get one shot at it. All right, thanks, guys.